All right, so we have gone through so many different functions this year so far. So now we are moving into one of the last ones, if not even maybe the last one that we're going to deal with when it comes to this class. Hey, graphing trigonometric functions. Now, with this, the only trig functions that we're going to deal with are the sines and the cosine functions. And so we're going to just deal with those here. We're going to do some other stuff with them, and then we're going to be done with our functions part of the class. Woo! Yes, we made it. All right, so before we go there, though, we need to talk about, because again, you've had this in your previous math class before, and so we're going to review really quick. We're going to move into some stuff that you've seen already, and hopefully you guys remember it and pull it back from last year. And then we're going to go ahead and add on one new thing here and then go from there. All right, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is remembering when it comes to your trig functions, we have two different modes. We have degree mode and we have radian mode. So we have two modes that we're going to focus on. And with it, that depends on what answer you'll get. If you're in degree mode, you'll get an answer. If you're in radian mode, you get an answer. But 9 times out of 10, they will be totally different answers. And depending on what mode you're looking for, whichever mode we're looking for here, depends on what answer we're looking for. So here, we're going to use the calculator in a few minutes to actually go through this. But we're going to talk about these really quick. So first off, degree mode. You'll see numbers like, there it is. You'll see numbers like 0 degrees or something like 180 degrees or negative 275 degrees. So it could be any number. It could be like 1 degree. It could be 75. It could be 2 million degrees. Pretty much that'll be degree mode. But what's going to distinguish this from everything else is that there will always be a degree symbol. It must be there. The degree symbol must be here. It must be on the number. Because if the degree symbol is not there on the number, then it's not degree. It's considered radian. So with that being said, let's go over the radians really quick. And radians, like from the past, you should have seen it. It normally has pi, pi, not PIE, but pi, pi. Right? It normally has pi in it. And again, that's not for everything. That's normally it will have it, but sometimes it will not have it. Or sometimes it will actually just be a whole number, and it's still considered a radian. All right, so here we'll look at numbers like 2 pi over 3 or negative 357 pi over 2. That's a pi symbol, sorry. Pi over 2. Oh, I just knocked out the actual number 2. Let me rewrite that again. So we have negative 357 pi. Let's write it all over 2 this way. All right, we have that. Sorry about that, guys. This is horrible. All right, and then we can also have something like maybe 2 pi. And as you notice there, for each one of those, and let me rewrite that again. Gosh, it's messed up. That's why I don't like pens that much. But they're colors, so they help us see differently or differentiate. All right, so here we have 2 pi over 3. We have negative 357 pi over 2. We have 2 pi. And they all have that pi symbol in it. But then you can also have things like 0 or 1 or maybe even a 3. Again, the difference between these and these, like that 0 and that 0, there's a degree symbol here. There's not one here. So the degree symbol means that 0 degrees. So when we put in a calculator or Desmos, it'll be a degree symbol. We'll use degree mode. For this one, it doesn't have a degree symbol on it, so therefore it is just radian. Okay. So that's what we're going to deal with. We're going to make sure we remember all that stuff and go from there. All right. So again, with all of this, we're going to go ahead and take a look at, since we're only talking about 2 different functions here, or 2 different types of functions for trig, the sine function and cosine. Right. So with this part, we're going to write this, we're going to abbreviate it, but with it, it is called sine and cosine. Our abbreviation for the sine function is sin(x). But we do not call that sin x because we don't sin in the classroom. We don't sin in this classroom. We is good people. We good people. And some of you guys might be Christians, so be like, you good Christian people. But we're just good people. So therefore, it is sine. We don't say sin. And cosine is cos(x). So that is cosine x, not cos x. Now, one thing I do every single year is that I actually take points off people's grades because they actually like say those wrong. This is not sin and cos, it is sine and cosine. So if you start saying that, if I ask you something or I calling you to do something and you say sin instead of sine, oh, your grade just dropped a little bit. It's okay. That's fine. You can keep saying it. Keep saying it. Cos, it'll drop too. Yeah. So just make sure you say sine and cosine. Just put it out there. Just letting you know. Now, one thing here, another way you could see this is they could write it like this. And they give you this circle with a loop inside of it. Or we're going to have cosine with a loop inside of it. All right. So this loop that we have inside of here is called theta. Circle with a loop inside of it, that is called theta. Now, one thing that you're going to see when it comes to the work, we could see this theta sign or we could see x. We could see both of them. So with it, just make sure you're able to know and understand what they mean. That they just mean, and I'm going to write that next out. Just poke myself with my pen. All right, so I'm going to write that now. So x and theta, again, the circle with a squiggly in it or a line through it or something like that. They just mean an angle. And before we actually move into any examples or anything, just a reminder, x and theta mean the same thing. So they're not anything different. So if you see one that says theta, you see x or you see theta, they mean the exact same thing. So when we start actually graphing things, you don't need to be using the whole thing of, well, Mr. Hall, I don't know the difference between x and theta. I don't know what that means. Because y'all sound just like that. I know y'all do. Y'all know y'all do. But not really. But yeah, they mean the exact same thing. So just make sure you know x and theta are the same. They mean an angle. All right, so then now we're going to go to an example where we actually use these sine and cosine into the calculator.